Welcome to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. My name is Chris. I'm joined once again by my good friend Matt.
Hello.
And this is going to be a weird episode of the Virtual Ball Boys.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. We've had a very fascinating week. A very, very dark week for the NFL. On Monday night, as you probably are well aware of at this point, the starting safety for the Buffalo Bills, Damar Hamlin, fell to the ground and after making a tackle and went into cardiac arrest. That led to him being taken. Well, they tried to perform CPR on the field, and then he was taken to the local hospital in Cincinnati. The teams made a decision to cancel the game, essentially, or just not continue playing the game, which was ultimately the NFL made the final call and ultimately was the right call. And now, a couple days later, we just as we were about to get going here, learned that Damar Hamlin is getting better. He's awake. He's even gripping the hands of his family members. He's still in critical condition. He's still in the ICU. He's still being taken care of. But this has been a very unprecedented week in the NFL's history. It's not been since the 70s or 60s since we've seen someone, a major medical thing happen on the field that almost led to someone dying, or in some instances did even lead to them dying. And we're very happy to know that Damar Hamlin seems like he is on the road to recovery, and hopefully that will remain the case. But it's kind of it's just a very dark cloud that now is hanging over the rest of this NFL season of, a lot of people wondering what went wrong. Was it something just biological with Damar? Was it something that he did on the field? Is the NFL going to be changed forever because of this? A lot of questions still kind of linger, but I think ultimately what matters most is that Damar is making progress and hopefully getting better.
Yeah, watching that happen live was wild because Chris was live streaming. I had the game on in the background, and we were kind of talking about it a little bit, and I was like glued to the TV, trying to look at Chris's stream as well, and just trying to like figure out like what's going on in all this. And from what I gathered that night, and I'm sure there will be more explanations as things come out, but the specific collision he had with T. Higgins was in just the right spot at just the right time of his like heartbeat that it disrupted it. And that's something like that is so unlikely to happen, and it is such a freak accident that something like that specifically is not something you could have predicted beyond just the reality of football being a dangerous sport. But and all of this has already been said, like the medical attention that he received at the time on the field is probably what saved his life. And I am looking into, like, as a result, I'm looking into like getting CPR certified because of because like stuff, the reason why he is probably still with us is because of that immediate attention. And so this is my small little way to say, hey, you should also think about getting CPR certified. I'm going to probably look through my district, see if my district has anything for that, because it could be, it absolutely is like
life or death.
life or death. And if you can, if you know what to do, and I took we had to like take CPR in high school to like graduate, I think even, but that was 10 years ago for me. So it's been a while since that. So getting and certification expires, but getting recertified in that is important to me now, and it's something that I'm going to do. I am glad that Damar is doing better. Obviously, I am. It was great to see the outpouring of everyone. Don't even want to give breath to people with agendas who are trying to turn this negatively or who have just said negative things. I don't want to give a breath to them. Yeah. They don't deserve it. But it's good to see that the response overall has been like this supportive. Damar's charity had passed $7 million today.
That's crazy, man.
Which is
That's
insane.
amazing.
And I'm not trying to like chase clout or anything. I donated to it the other night as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great to see.
Yeah, he's now one of the top selling jerseys as well. And unless I don't know, I'm sure people are aware of how jersey sales work with the NFL, but it's essentially the players do get a big cut of that, and so that's also really nice to see. Echoing what you're saying, I think one of the positive things in a very dark situation is seeing how kind of like the general community aspect of things has been in terms of, you know, people donating to his charity and people buy his jersey, but also just like the community around, like people going to the hospital, like both Bills and Bengals fans visiting and holding vigils in his honor and you know, keeping him in their thoughts, and you know, hearing the Bengals head coach Zach Taylor, you know, talk about how the first thing that Sean McDermott said to him on the field that night was like, "I need to be at the hospital for Damar," and just kind of shows the kind of coach that Sean McDermott is ultimately, and I think the Bengals as well have just been nothing but super, you know, thoughtful and classy during this whole thing.
I'm gonna use the word funny. It's not necessarily funny, but these two teams in particular seem to have like a really nice bond with each other. A little bit of like a fandom brotherhood, which was definitely on full display. And I think that like any two teams that this would have happened with, this would have been the response as well.
Sure.
But it is the fact that the Bills and the Bengals like have had this much of a connection, and I think especially after this is really significant to me.
I think back. It is silly to think about, but I kind of almost thought back to 2016. When this is obviously for a much more arbitrary reason, but when Andy Dalton threw the touchdown that won the game against the Ravens, that knocked the Ravens out of the playoffs and put the Bills in the playoffs for the first time since the 90s, and how the Bills fans went out of their way to donate to Andy Dalton's charity after that, because of that move. Like it kind of like there's just something about these two franchises that now like feel like very linked in a way, that through like multiple things that have happened in the last like 5 years, 6 years. Like it's just, I don't know. It's just like a very, it's a silly way of looking at it, but it's also just like, wow, like it's amazing how these two teams now have like such a kind of a bond that you don't really ever see with any other NFL team.
No,
two teams, you know.
Sorry, go finish your thought.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think we've talked about, you know, we talked about the fact that there is a lot of people that are going to be trying to, you know, paint all this in a negative light, but I think that this is one of those situations where I'm hopeful and glad that this has forced people to take a step back a little bit and made people kind of think about the sport. And I know that this is not what happened on Monday. I don't want this to be like, I think I don't want what I'm about to say be like, well, we need to go after football now. Like, and this is not me what I'm trying to say, but I think every once in a while it's good to take a step back and kind of look at what this sport is, which is super dangerous, and this is human beings that are putting their bodies on the line every single day to entertain us. And
yep.
I think, as terrible as something like this is to happen, I feel like something like this is a reminder that when you get mad about your fantasy team, not you specifically, mad, just speaking generally.
No, the royal you.
The royal you.
I get it. Yeah.
When people get mad about a fantasy team, or I as people are doing now, which I ranted about on my live stream, about how like that people want to now turn to, well, we need to reschedule this game because it's going to affect playoff seeding, because we need to make sure that the Bengals get the number 1 seed or the Bills get the number 1 seed. Like, we need to replay the game, whatever. Like, I think a lot of people need to just take a step back and just realize that this is a very scary situation that hopefully will have a happy ending, but there's a lot of trauma that happened on that field on Monday. I think it's the better thing that we just move on from that game. And I think that the more I think that more than anything else, we just need to remember that this is a sport that means a lot to everyone, but we need to realize that it is just a sport, and we can move on. And even if there is going to be some quote unquote unfair implications because of the cancellation, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to ruin everything. It is just going to be what it is at this point. And more than anything, what matters here is Damar Hamlin. That's and the human side of this ultimately.
I do want to mention on this was this is like happening right now, but he is one of the first things that he asked, and through writing, because he's still in a breathing tube, but through writing, sure, he asked who won the game.
Ugh. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's one of the things that the doctors use to say, like, he's fine. He's mentally fine.
Right.
But he will have a long road to go physically.
Of course.
And I know that that's going to be on the forefront, and the most important thing from here on out for him and for the Bills, for really everyone, is him being safe. And I want to talk about Monday night a little bit more. I really, really liked the way that ESPN handled everything.
Sure.
I thought that it was very classy. It like the perspectives that they put forward, what they talked about, the way they talked about it, was all done in a very, very, very respectful, very informative way. Because obviously, like, they're still going to broadcast, A, because it's like the broadcast time, B, because as broadcasters, and they're not necessarily like reporters or anything, but they do have like a bit of a responsibility to keep people informed throughout all this. And I think that the way that they covered it in the aftermath was very well done.
I think that what was good is that they did, even though they did replay the moment a few times early on, not knowing exactly what happened. I'm glad that they stopped doing the replay after some time.
Yep.
Because I think they realized that it was a much more serious situation after a while. I think that generally the way that it was handled was well done. And again, I was distracted doing other stuff when it was on. But I've heard nothing but good, but like good praise for something about this. Where again, like just going back to what I was saying, like you have to start to recognize the humanity in all this, and when a broadcast can recognize that and handle it with care like that, I think is super. It's super important. I know. Like I did catch it briefly, but Ryan Clark, who works at ESPN, he ended up talking a little bit on the Scott Van Pelt show after the fact, and he obviously he didn't experience what Hamlin experienced, but he had, I believe, was a big medical emergency in Denver because he had like a lung condition that, like, in that kind of pressure in Denver, like it forced him to go to the hospital, and he kind of talked about what it was like to have like having his teammates like come and visit him at the hospital, and talk about like how they were worried that he was gonna die or do something bad was gonna happen, like, and it was just a very fascinating thing to kind of hear from him on like and insight into like probably what the Bills and Bengals are both going through right now. I feel for everyone involved. I feel especially for T. Higgins, who I know probably is feeling like he's to blame for in some reason, and I there's some really shitty people out there that are gonna want to blame Higgins, but that's just not right. And he was just playing football, and nothing was there. He did nothing wrong. He was just running a route, and it just a bad moment happened. This is all a freak accident, and I don't think anyone is to blame in it. And I'm hoping that he is not getting a ton of hate, because I don't think he deserves it.
Absolutely not.
But this is, I guess, it's very hard to do try to even like move on and talk about football in any sort of fashion. We had a lot of ideas for today's episode of what we wanted to do. One of which was opening up with our me paying off my losing the college football picking competition and having to drink pilk. Obviously, that was not going to be appropriate for us to open up with on this episode. So we're pushing that to next week.
Week 18 is happening.
Yeah.
The postseason is still happening.
Yeah.
We are still going to pick those. We are still going to I think things would be a lot different if Damar was not in the condition that he is.
Right.
Being in a lot better shape now. Especially like as we are recording, like the news is like so positive.
Right.
Because like things seem to like be at a spot where they're going to be okay going forward. And the league is still going on. I think it's like it's okay. We're still going on as well.
Yeah.
We're just not gonna do any of the major sillies in this one.
Right. So like I said, the Pilk thing got pushed to next week, and we're also gonna push off EVBFL for another week as well. And I talked to Matt about this. I also just didn't feel like we won. I know that we like talking about the games that happened last week. To me, it just does not matter. To me, I feel like the story of this week was Damar Hamlin, and I feel like I wanted to give him his time there, and so, that's what matters most to me on that front. But I think we still agreed, though. We've gone through 17 weeks, with our picks competition. I think I feel like it would be a bummer for it to end, like with not picking the last few games. So we are going to pick games still, and so we are going to do that. There's also I'm not going to put ads on this episode either. Just feel like does it feel right? Does it?
Yeah.
I think this is just 1 week where we don't need to do them. It's not a necessity.
Yep.
By any means. So, let's. It is as awkward as a tradition is as it's going to be. Let's talk about football. We're gonna try to have a little bit of a positive skew for the rest of this podcast. But as always, like this goes without saying, and obviously is very clear by everything that we have said. We are thinking of Damar, and hopefully he'll be fully recovered. But we're gonna go ahead and talk about the picks for Week 18. Matt, you did make a little bit of ground last week. Not a ton.
Not a lot, though. Not a lot.
Yeah, you went 10-5, and got 5 points. I went 9-6, got 3 points. The Bills Bengals game was a guarantee for me. But as we've talked about in the past with ties and or something like this happening, which again, who could have predicted? The guarantees just get canceled out. We're just not going to count them. So I won't lose points on that, but the chaoses went well. Or no, excuse me, no, did not go well. Did not go well. The Cardinals and Panthers both lost, but Matt, you did get your guarantee with the Steelers winning over the Ravens.
Yes.
So that's that. So where are we at going into the final regular season week? And although we do still pick games going into the playoffs, this is the finale. This is the the culmination of our picks. So I'm sitting at 160, 93 record, and 67 points. Matt, you are sitting at 153, 100, and 52 points. That is a 15-point deficit, and the way that we do points here, that means you will have to would have to go 7-0, because even if you went like 7-1, let's say you disagree on 8, that I think I would still win because of that one disagreement. Because that's just how these points work. So that's
how our point system works. It's weird. It's how we do it.
Yeah, it
works.
That is just how these things go. So, we're gonna go through the picks, and we'll just to make sure that you have any sort of chance of catching. We could then go back after we do the picks and just make sure that the points.
I'm gonna go with 8 disagreements.
I think that works.
Yep.
I think that is gonna work very well. So,
all right. First, I would like to talk about the playoff scenarios.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the weird thing, but all right. But go ahead. You can go through it, but then we have to also explain what we were talking about just before the call.
Right. Yeah. So I'll start with the NFC. The NFC is simple.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk with the AFC, because even the AFC scenarios that I found, this is assuming 7 teams, nothing changes seeding wise.
Right.
So in the NFC, the Eagles can clinch the number 1 seed if they win, if the Cowboys lose, or if the 49ers lose. If any 3 of those happen, the Eagles will be the number 1 seed. The 49ers can clinch if they win and the Eagles lose. And the Cowboys can be the number 1 overall seed if they win and then the Eagles and 49ers both lose. I believe the Cowboys' loss would give Eagles like a strength of schedule, something that even if the 49ers win, still lets the Eagles be in first place. Mm-hmm. NFC East title, relatively similar. Eagles clinch with a win, or the Cowboys lose. Cowboys can be the number 1 overall seed though if they win and the Eagles lose, which is wild that the Eagles are not the number 1 seed, but no Jalen Hurts affects that. So that is pretty much set in stone. I think that no matter what, obviously no matter what, Tampa Bay will be the 4 seed. And then between the Vikings and the 49ers, I believe are the Vikings locked into 3, or can they still be 2?
They can still be the 2 seed.
Okay.
Which is why I'm before all this stuff happened, I was thinking about I had the Giants on my mind of like, God, I really hope the Vikings stay in the 3 seed.
Yeah.
I really want to face them.
Yeah. Giants Vikings would be a good game.
There's a chance there, at least, for the Giants.
There's a chance, yeah. Giants are locked into the 6th seed. It will either be the Cowboys or the Eagles as the 5th seed. And then the 7th seed is between the Packers, Lions, and Seahawks. It's a little bit weird. Packers win versus the Lions means that they're in. If the Seahawks win, that one's weird. Basically, Seahawks win and Packers lose, then the Seahawks are in. The Lions have to win and the Seahawks need to lose, and then there's a lot of tie bullshit after that. So, looking great for the Packers right now. They were able to pull it out. Their defense is their defense. Their offense has gotten it together just at the right time, you know? All right, and then the AFC is a little bit weird. This is put together with the assumption that the Bills and Bengals will still play their game. It gets weird after that. But here's basically when this happens. The Chiefs will clinch if they win and the Bills lose once, or if the Bills lose twice and the Bengals lose once. Which is weird to say because that also gives the Bengals one win. But, basically, Chiefs win, or if this game doesn't count, they'll be the number 1 seed. If the Bills win both games, get 2 wins, they will win. Or if they win and the Chiefs lose this week, or if they win versus the Patriots and the Chiefs and the Bengals both lose. Basically, Buffalo wins, others lose. Bengals have to get both of their last wins and the Chiefs to lose to get the number 1 seed. AFC South, Jaguars can clinch the AFC. It's basically like it's Jaguars or Titans. They will be the 4th seed. Whoever wins that game will win the AFC South. AFC North, it's between the Bengals, or between the Ravens and Bengals. Whoever wins that game will clinch it likely, although that gets a little bit weird because of Monday night. Patriots can get in if they beat the Bills, or if the Dolphins, Steelers. If the Dolphins and Steelers lose, but the Jaguars win, then they'll get in.
It's fucking god. These playoff scenarios.
Oh my god. The Dolphins can get in if they win and the Patriots lose. The Steelers can get in if they win and then the Dolphins and Patriots lose. I'm still like that Patriots one it's specifically Dolphins and Steelers lose, but the Jaguars win. I guess that kind of. Oh, you know what? That kind of like that takes Jaguars out of the wild card spot.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So that just means that like the Patriots are the only option left. That makes sense now. Okay.
Right.
I see now. If the Jaguars lose, though, they'll be in the wild card for number 7. If also the Dolphins, Patriots, and Steelers all lose, so Jaguars can still technically be the wild card, but they will likely win their division.
Yeah, I would love to. I feel like I would love to have done the NFL, the different playoff matchups that we could potentially have for each seeding, because that's usually what I do around this time. Obviously, given the circumstances, it was very difficult to even consider doing that.
Because we don't know if the Bengals Bills game will be played. We don't know if they're going to add an 8th team, which is something that you mentioned earlier.
Right. I also don't know if I was mentally like at a place where I wanted to even do it. But no, you're right. It is like it's just so complicated. Everything is it's a complicated situation. Ultimately, though, like we said, it was the right call to make that they canceled it, but it does definitely complicate things and how they want to go about it. And like we hinted out earlier, the NFL is considering a lot of different scenarios, including, and I think rightfully would be canceling the Bills-Bengals game. I don't know if there's another option there. Like I know that they want to. I know that people have scenarios that they could work out where they could still play that game. I just think it's. It's
not worth it.
I just feel like for the players, like, do they want to, like, yes, let's bring you back to that moment where your friend fell over and was having a cardiac arrest. Like, do you really want to, like, really re-experience that moment again? Like, that to me is just not, I does not feel good.
No.
And then they are figuring out, the NFL wants to figure out maybe a scenario where they change up how the seeding is in the playoffs. That they're thinking that maybe there would be a neutral site for the AFC Championship game, given that the Bills and Bengals could have, you know, that like the fact that they had this opportunity to get to the 1 seed and may not be able to, because if the Chiefs beat the Raiders and they don't replay that Bills-Bengals game, then the Chiefs are going to be the number 1 seed. So that's that one option. Another option, which is wild to me, but I guess could work, is the expansion of playoff fields to 8 teams. And I think that, Matt, you brought up the point that it was maybe because that way it gets rid of that bye that a 1 seed would have. And instead it would throw, it forced them to play on wildcard weekend. To me, that does make more sense upon thinking about it in that sense. But I don't know. It would be interesting to see how that even is gonna work from a television contract point of view, from a logistics point of view. Like there's a lot of interesting factors and difficult factors that they would have to consider to how they want to handle it moving forward. So we'll see. Again, I guess I'm just at the point where I don't care. We'll see how it goes. All right, let's do the picks. Matt, get us started.
Sure, everything is on Sunday this year, except for the Saturday games. And I don't know why I said this year, I meant this week, but yeah, there are 2 Saturday games. Kansas City Chiefs takes on Las Vegas Raiders. Chiefs have a chance to get that number 1 overall seed if they win this game versus the Raiders, who have benched Derek Carr like last week and are a mess.
Well, it was a weird game, though. I mean, we didn't really recap it like we said, but that Raiders 49ers game would have probably been the game of the week because of how close that Jarrett Stidham made that game, which is very weird. But the Chiefs, I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I think they'll take care of business.
I will also pick the Chiefs here. As I said, I need to pick at least 8 games differently. This may be one that I go back and flip around. We'll see.
Yeah. Next up, the Tennessee Titans at Jacksonville Jaguars. This is for the AFC South. What do you think is going to happen here?
This is another one that I could potentially pick differently, but the Titans are just in such a bad spot, and I want the Jaguars in the playoffs so bad that I'm still going to pick the Jaguars here.
Yeah, I'm also picking the Jaguars, and I'm guaranteeing the Jaguars in this.
Nice.
I feel like that this could be a very this could be a strange game that the Titans could absolutely win, but I just feel like the Jaguars are just playing so damn well lately that the fact that they took care of the Texans the way they did last week, I was like, okay, yes, the Jags I think are here to stay.
They got it. They got the juice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up, Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Atlanta Falcons. This game means nothing. Tampa's already the division winner. Nothing will change as a result of this. Who's going to win, Chris?
I think the Bucs might be sitting starters in this matchup, which is why the Falcons are favored as much as they are. But I'm gonna just do what I did last week to the Falcons, and I'm Team Chaos in the Buccaneers in this instance.
That's so weird. Come on. All right. Well, I will pick the Falcons. I'm actually no. I had them as one thing, but I changed it off. I will pick the Falcons. Be a little bit different.
I just because I think it's because it's the Buccaneers backups playing, and I still think the Buccaneers backups could be better than what's happening with the Falcons, even though the Falcons did win last week. So that's where I'm at.
Yep.
Next up, the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. This is obviously going to be a very strange game for the Bills. And for the Patriots, it is a big game for them to secure their playoff spot. What do you think is going to happen here?
I'm going to take the Bills still in this one.
I too am taking the Bills as just out of a wanting to
support them. I don't think I don't know if I'm going to be able to get you 8 differences just based on
we'll see
some restrictions.
Well, hey, I'm not going to be mad at you if you pick the Patriots. I don't think anyone's going to hold against you. That was just my feeling was just like
I have to pick the Bills here.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to Bills.
Yep. All right, Minnesota Vikings versus the Chicago Bears. Nathan Peterman is starting. Thank you, Chicago. Thank you for recognizing your quarterback has an injury and then not playing him in a meaningless game. It's not worth it. Vikings or Bears?
I am going with the Vikings because I think that the Vikings still have a little bit of something to play for, and I think that they're going to play this game with the Bears, who are now starting their best player and the one that would ultimately keep this game close for with the Vikings.
Yeah. This made me want to come back and switch to the Bears, but I'll pick the Vikings for now.
Yeah, fair enough. The Ravens at the Bengals. Again, weird game for the Bengals to have to play in. This would have potentially been for a division title, but again, given the circumstances, just is not. Instead, what do you think is going to happen in this one?
I am going to pick the Bengals here. Lamar Jackson is not practicing.
Yeah, I'm going Bengals as well.
Cool. All right. Next up, Houston Texans versus the Indianapolis Colts. Houston surging just a little bit. Indy, I don't think has things figured out. Who do you think is going to win, Chris?
I'm going to go with the Texans. They have been playing a lot better, except for last week. So I think that they'll take care of business. I think the Colts are a complete mess.
When I keep wanting to pick things different, you end up picking them too in a minute.
Well, that's how this happens. This is how this works. You're in my spot the last 2 years where I'm just like,
that's true.
I wanted to change, and I'm just like, I can't do it.
Yeah, you physically cannot make that pick.
Yes, yeah.
I'm Team Chaosing the Texans.
There you go. Good shit. Is that actually is the spread like that too? I mean,
let me check.
It's okay if it's not. It's fine. You could have you could keep it. Like I'm not gonna.
It is within 3 points, but
your choice. Your choice to keep it as a Team Chaos. I'm not gonna.
I don't know. I may switch it around.
Yeah,
to give me a more fighting chance.
We can definitely have a conversation when this is all said and done. Next up, the New York Jets.
Also, if the Texans win and the Bears lose, Bears get first overall pick.
Oh shit! All right, interesting stuff.
Yep.
New York Jets at Miami Dolphins. Jets were eliminated last week. Dolphins, they need to win. They need it, and they need some help from the Bills. The Bills need to beat the Patriots for the Dolphins to have a chance to get into this playoffs here. So,
yep.
It's been a slide for them. They might be starting Skylar Thompson. What do you think is going to happen here?
It doesn't matter which one I pick. I'm picking the opposite one of you.
That's fair. I'm picking the Jets.
I'm picking the Dolphins then.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right. This is another one. Carolina Panthers versus New Orleans Saints. Both these teams, fringe playoff teams for a bit, solely because they could maybe win the NFC South. That isn't possible for either anymore. Who do you think is going to win between them?
I'll take the Saints.
I will take the Panthers.
There you go.
again, only to be different.
Yep, fair enough. Next up, the Cleveland Starfish at the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is the Steelers team has been playing very well as of late. But the Starfish, of course, are the Starfish. What do you think's gonna happen? that was the worst intro to a game I've ever.
Contractual obligation to pick the Steelers,
right? Yes.
But also Steelers winning means winning season for Mike Tomlin.
Yeah,
which they managed to get back to, which is incredible.
Yeah. I feel like I felt it in my bones. I felt it in my bones that this was going to happen for the Steelers. I'm very excited for them. I am also picking the Steelers.
All right. Los Angeles Chargers versus the Denver Broncos. Chargers pretty much are they the 5th seed locked in?
No. So they're
5 or 6.
They're 5 or 6 at this point. I think if they win, they are the 5 seed. I mean, not Jaguars are a great team, but I think you'd rather want to play the Jaguars than a Bengals, Bills, or Chiefs situation. Right now.
I'd agree with that. So you do want to win this game.
I think the Chargers are going to probably start their players here.
Yeah. Do you think they're going to win the game?
I think they will. Chargers.
I will defer and pick the Broncos.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just one random surprise. You know what? I'm going to change my team cast to this.
You're okay. Good.
Denver. Change team cast to Denver.
Okay, sounds good.
Next, just to be different, and Denver has played weirdly close the last couple weeks.
You do not need to justify it. I totally understand. I totally get it. Cool. All right. Then next up is the New York Giants at Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles could have set their starters if they took care of business last week and got the number 1 seed. That is no longer the case. They need this game to get the number 1 overall pick, so they are starting Jalen Hurts this week, is what we are hearing. And then you have the New York Giants team, which is locked into their playoff spot at the number 6 seed. So, what do you think's going to happen?
I'm going to pick the Giants because I'm pretty sure that you are picking the Eagles.
I am picking the Eagles.
All right, I'm picking the Giants.
Okay.
Next up, Arizona Cardinals versus the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers still trying to play for that 1 seed. Will need some help from the Giants. Cardinals or 49ers?
I'm going to go with the Niners.
I will also go with the Niners.
All right, next up, the Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. This Seahawks team needs to win this game. Otherwise, they will basically be deferring to either the Lions or the Packers. So this is a do or die situation for them. They're facing the Rams. What do you think is going to happen?
Who are you picking, Chris?
I'm going to go Seahawks.
Okay, I'm going to switch to the Rams. I originally had Seattle down as my guarantee.
Sure.
But I'm going to switch to the Rams here, and then I'm going to double up on your guarantee and also guarantee Jacksonville.
You're going to guarantee Jacksonville. Fair enough. Yeah.
Retroactively do that.
Yeah. You know what? Like I don't think that's the end of the world on that front. To go in that direction. There you go. All right. Next up, is I think you go for this.
All right, Dallas Cowboys versus the Washington Commanders. Cowboys also still trying to win the NFC East. They can as well. They're very close. And this is a really good Cowboys team right now. I don't want to face them in the playoffs. No. And I'm glad that they will probably be facing the Buccaneers if things don't quite go their way. Mm-hmm. Cowboys or Commanders?
I'm going to go Cowboys.
All right, I will also go Cowboys. Commanders are a joke.
Yeah. Well, I'm making this 7th disagreement very easy for you here because this is Detroit Lions at the Green Bay Packers, and this is they chose this game because both teams are competing for a playoff spot. But if Seattle wins earlier today, the Lions would be eliminated, and then it's not even that fun of a.
It's not that interesting. They tried. It didn't quite work out for them.
Right, but. The Lions did say that I think regardless they're going to treat the game like a playoff game. They're still going to play their hearts out. So the Packers will still have stiff competition to try to secure their playoff spot. What do you think is going to happen here?
I'm going to pick the Lions.
I'm picking the Packers. So there you go.
All right, cool. I was worried that I was going to have to pick the Packers, but I want like Packers are very clearly the better team.
Yeah.
But like how fucking awesome would it be for the Lions to get in the playoffs?
All right. So where we are at now is 7 disagreements.
7 disagreements. Okay.
So
I think
to recap, that is we deferred on Bucks Falcons, Jets Dolphins, Panthers Saints, Chargers Broncos, Giants Eagles, Rams Seahawks, Lions Packers. You could disagree on any others you want at this point.
Give me the Bears over the Vikings.
Okay.
Nathan Peterman.
So then that means I'm picking the Vikings and you are picking the Bears. Okay. Yeah. So essentially, obviously guarantees and chaoses come into factor, so it may still work out where if you go 7-1 here, that you may still end up tying with me, but you need 8-0 or 7-1 essentially.
Yes.
Is what this means.
All of these need to go my way.
Yes,
which I knew coming in, like, but because it's still mathematically possible for me to win, I am still going to try.
Right. Yeah. No. This is going to be a very, very interesting situation here, and we'll see how it ultimately ends up playing out.
Otherwise, though, Chris, I congratulate you on your victory.
We'll see. I feel like I'm just waiting for the rug to be pulled out from under me at this point. That something is going to go terribly wrong for my road to victory here. But hey, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I need just to be a little bit more confident in myself going into Sunday. But yeah,
you'll be fine.
I think with that. That will close today's episode. It definitely a weirder episode. I appreciate anyone who still decided to listen to us talk about all the circumstances and all the weird things that ultimately affected this week. And again, our hearts and thoughts go out to Damar Hamlin, his family, the Bills team, the Buffalo Bills, the Bengals, everyone that was affected on Monday, and hopefully Hamlin will be able to fully recover and everything will end up being fine. I did read on Twitter just now that when he wrote on the piece of paper he asked who won, and the doctor said that he won the game of life, which I thought was like, okay, that's sentimental. That makes me choked up. All right. But anyways, thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Good night and good ball.